Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. So before I get to watch the Thanksgiving special between the Colorado Rapids and the Portland Timbers in the playoffs, I'm going to quickly do a News of the Week episode. And this week seems like was a week where head coaches are being hired by new team, because we had two teams that were coming into this week with no head coach heading into the upcoming season. Now they do, after these last couple of days. And the first one is, of course, TFC, who I think this was probably the biggest kept secret in the league, that Bob Bradley was going to be the new head coach of the team, and it was officially announced, I think it was on Tuesday, that he was going to be a head coach of TFC heading into next season. But what's also interesting is that not only the fact that he's going to be a head coach of TFC, but he's also going to be the new sporting director. And we kind of knew that this was going to be the case once Ali Curtis was being fired by TFC a couple of days ago. And, it seems like Toronto is going with what New England is trying to do, where, we know New England, when they hire Bruce Arena, they not only want him to be the head coach, but also be the guy that makes the decision of the signings that will bring to the team. And knowing the fact that Bob Bradley has some experience in terms of the fact that not only being a good head coach, but also could definitely bring in some good players into the team, it was not surprising that TFC decided to not only make him a head coach, but also the person that's in charge of all the transfer that is going on. So yeah, we'll see whether or not, if this, of course, will work out. I mean, I feel like it is going to work out, and that, again, I think this offseason, this is going to be a big offseason for this team. I mean, I'm pretty sure their fan base does not want to see this team to have another disastrous year like they had last time. And, we'll definitely see some big signings for TFC this season, this offseason, especially them once again breaking the bank and trying to spend more money to improve this team. Now, another team that, of course, got a new head coach is the Chicago Fire, who officially announced that Israel Henriksen is going to be their new head coach. Now, this technically looked like it was going to happen last week, and it just happened to so that after I done my News of the Week episode, a day later, they basically talk about how he's going to be the new head coach of the Chicago Fire. And, well, not only he's going to be the new head coach, but it was just a matter of time that they, of course, announced it. So I was kind of a little bit frustrated that the fact that, oh man, I just did a News of the Week episode, and now it seems like we have a new head coach hiring right after I done one of these videos. But nevertheless, it was announced this week that he is going to be the new Chicago Fire head coach, and I like this move. I think Israel Henriksen, he was a guy that's been in the coaching hiring circle for a bit. Remember when DC was thinking about trying to hire him last off season, when they were looking for a new head coach and basically go on a 4-month scouting period to look for their new head coach. And I thought Henriksen as a guy that's worked for the Sounders, and it seemed like nowadays, if you are a person that's been working with the Seattle Sounders, whether you're an assistant head coach or basically work with Brian Schmitz, so you're going to get a good chance of becoming a head coach in MLS. And it's not surprising, because the Seattle Sounders, if you ignore what happened back on Tuesday, they are still considered one of the most successful team in the league, and a team that when you have a successful team, and you have a good head coach in Brian Schmitz, and also his assistant running the engine, that eventually there's going to be some rumors that those head coach are probably going to be, or that is those assistant head coach are going to be moving on to another team and becoming head coach. And again, the only thing I will say is that this is going to be a bit of a tough task for Israel Henriksen, knowing the fact that he's probably going to be coming into a team where it is going to be once again a rebuild for this Fire team. I mean, they completely blow up this off season with some of the end of the roster move, and looks like it's going to be a fresh start once again for this team. And for Fire fan, let's hope that this finally might be the time where they can actually get it right, because a couple of years ago they were told that after getting a new owner, moving back to Soldier Field and changing their identity was going to be a new era for this team, and yeah, they were still stuck as a basement dweller in the Eastern Conference. Now, Austin FC, of course, have exercised the transfer option for defender Zan Komanic. Unsurprising that, of course, is the case, because I thought Komanic has done very well this season, and probably one of the more underrated fullback in this Austin FC team, and it was not a big surprise that they, of course, eventually did reach an agreement with his previous club for a transfer option. Now, I'm not sure exactly how much it is going to be, but either way, I think this is definitely a good move for this Austin team. As I mentioned, Zane Komich had a good first season with this Austin FC team. Now, Carlos here, of course, was named MLS Comeback Player of the Year. Now, I know in the beginning of the season, there was a lot of people saying that Chicharito was definitely going to be named Comeback Player of the Year. And I think Chicharito, in terms of this award, I think it was one of the finalists in terms of winning this award. But I think at the end of the day, they made the right call that Carlos Hill was the Comeback Player of the Year, because, he definitely has more impact in terms of, well, if you look at his stats, it's definitely a little bit better than what Chicharito has. I mean, I'm not discounting Chicharito did not have a good season. He had an amazing season, and if it wasn't for Carlos Hill putting up assist numbers that was on point of looked like gonna break the record for the most assists in a single season, I think Chicharito would have won it. But in terms of the impact and how he was able to kind of get the team into the playoffs and being the creative player like him, and also a player that is definitely going to be in running for MVP, Carlos Hill is definitely going to have that edge over Chicharito this season with the LA Galaxy. Now, in terms of goal of the year, it was voted that Rubio Rubin won the goal of the year after his bicycle kick goal against the San Jose Earthquakes in May, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of surprised that one, of course, won it. Like, I know that was an amazing goal, and obviously ever since when Rubio Rubin scored that bicycle kick goal, I've been pretty much naming any bicycle kick goal after him. But I feel like in terms of the goal of the year, like when you look at some of the goals that was in Canada, there were a lot of good ones, and it was always going to be tough, and in some way maybe even be a popularity contest in terms of who wins the goal of the year. So I think that's even kind of also is a big surprise, the fact that Rubio Rubin would have won it, because with him being in RSL in a market that is a bit of a more market. I mean, they do have some good fans there, but it's definitely not as big as a market like, let's say, the Portland Timbers. And the fact that I thought maybe the goal that Darren Asprilla scored was worthy of goal of the year. I mean, yes, I know that goal kind of came off of a goalkeeping mistake, and ironically, that game also came against the San Jose Earthquakes, which, by the way, that's another resume of the long list of pain that the Quakes fans had to endure, where that not only the fact that you're going to see some of your former player do well for our other team, but also you're going to have goal of the year candidate. You basically provide goal of the year candidate for the other team. But yeah, even though that was kind of came off of a mistake from JT Markowski, the way that Darren Asprilla basically hits that bicycle kick, I mean, that was just something out of the world. And again, I thought, in my opinion, I think that should have won the goal of the year, and especially the fact that if this is indeed a popularity contest, I'm pretty sure Timbers fans would have won this popularity contest over when RSL fans trying to stuff the vote. But nevertheless, congratulations to Rubio Rubin, of course, winning the goal of the year. But now moving on, in terms of the next news, is that MLS has officially announced the home opener for the 2022 MLS season for all 28 teams. And, I was kind of surprised that they announced it right now, because I think this is one of the earliest that they announced it. They usually announce like somewhere in mid-December or as late as January, as we saw last season. But it seems like they announced it straight away. And I feel like there was kind of a hint that they were going to announce the home opener when they announced that Charlotte was going to be playing their home opener against the LA Galaxy in March 5th. But nevertheless, this is definitely incredibly early for MLS to announce the home opener for every team, which kind of also makes me wonder, they're probably going to announce the schedule sooner or later, because when you have all your home openers kind of announced, usually it takes like a month period before MLS does release the full schedule for every single team. So I won't be surprised we could see the full schedule as soon as mid-December, even though theoretically I've seen before where the schedule can release as late as January. I think last season it was like late January before they announce it. But of course, we'll talk a little bit more about the home opener and probably even make a video about all the home opener, and because there's definitely some interesting matches in terms of some of these home openers that's going to be happening for the upcoming season. Now, speaking of the off season, the expansion draft is going to be set on December 14th, with the super draft set on January 11th. And again, I'll probably make a video right after when the day after MLS Cup is over, where I'll talk about the schedule of the off season, because despite the fact that there is no MLS game, that doesn't mean there's going to be some things to pay attention in MLS. In fact, this offseason, it's going to be an incredibly short offseason, probably the shortest offseason we have ever seen in league history, with the way that, once MLS Cup is over in mid-December, it's only like 2 months away from the beginning of the regular season, and only like 1.5 months before preseason begins. So this is going to be relatively quick, and this is why, don't be surprised when I do these news of the week episode. Like, if you thought last season, in the off season, I was very busy in terms of talk about some of the transfer rumor and spent a lot of time talking about it in these news of the week episode, you better be prepared for this week or this off season. I mean, this off season, it's going to be crazy. There's going to be times where I might even need to change the board 3 times to just talk about all the transfer rumors that happened in the last couple of days. But moving on into the last news on this board is the U.S. men's national team has finally announced where are the next 2 games of the CONCACAF Octagonal World Cup qualifier is going to be taking place. And there was a rumor that it looks like it's going to be somewhere in the Midwest and in the North, and indeed that of course is the case, as the U.S. men's national team will be playing their January octagonal home match against El Salvador at Lower.com Field in Columbus, and they will of course be playing against Honduras in February at Allianz Field in Minnesota. So this is a pretty clear example of the fact that the U.S. men's national team, they know that it is winter, and they know that the best way to maybe get some home field advantage is kind of copy what Canada tried to do when they play against Mexico and Costa Rica, and trying to create their own Azteca in Edmonton. So they're going to try to play at Lower.com Field in Columbus, where in January Columbus is freezing cold, and especially it's freezing cold if you trying to play at Allianz Field in Minnesota in February. I mean, I was actually thinking about maybe even going to this game, but then I just realized that when I look at the temperature in Minnesota in February, I don't think I will be prepared for that surprise. But nevertheless, I hope that this does give some good home field advantage, and I also won't be surprised if we're gonna see another snow classico in one of these games. I mean, I'm banking the fact that this game in Minnesota, we could definitely see a snow classico against Honduras. But even if it's not a snow classico, even if it's like something like frigid, like what we saw in the Canada versus Mexico game, where I think game time temperature was like 10 degrees in that game, and I know in this game against Honduras, since Minnesota in February, the temperature doesn't even go anywhere above like 20 degrees. Yeah, this is going to be an incredibly cold one, and this is kind of the way that the U.S. want to do it. And the fact that I kind of finally like the decision that they started to make in terms of where they pick some of the home field. I mean, I think the last World Cup qualifier cycle, I mean, I'm not trying to blame this fully, but this was kind of partially of maybe the reason why they didn't qualify, and that of course is they chose some ridiculous location to host their World Cup qualifier. Remember when they tried to play Costa Rica in New York, and how that was a terrible idea? And then I also remember they were trying to play Honduras in San Jose, which that's a bit of a shocker, because you should never be playing some of these World Cup qualifier in California, especially. There's a big Hispanic kind of population there. But it seems like the U.S. are being much smarter in terms of their decision of where they host their game. And I know there's also going to be people say, well, the U.S. Soccer Federation should share the wealth. Well, here's the thing. Yes, it would be ideal that I would love to see the U.S. play a World Cup qualifier here in my backyard, but I can also understand why these are hosted in the Midwest. Like, you want home field advantage. Like, this game, let's say if they play against El Salvador in LA, that would be a terrible idea with the way that LA also has a big El Salvador population. Or worse, they try to play Mexico in LA for the World Cup qualifier, which that would be the dumbest idea. Would it ever be existent? Then that's just that's just not going to work out. So again, in the end, I'm glad that the U.S. Soccer Federation are methodical in terms of the decision to where they hold some of these games, and it should be a very interesting one to see how they can take advantage of these home field advantage playing in the freezing cold, or even playing in the snow in terms of these two games that's going to be happening in the winter. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for the news of the week for this week. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this video? And again, it's a relatively short one because we didn't really had a lot of news that happened in this last week, besides some head coaching hiring that we saw from these last couple of days. But if there's any news I didn't miss, or if there's any news I didn't mention, or it's on the board, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time with another sports talk